There is one organ which causes high blood pressure, and it's not what you think. And there are specific exercises you can use to target and fix your blood pressure easily. No diet, lifestyle changes, or medication required. Check the link in the description below, but for now, today's question.
The question, in the cardiac cycle, when is blood pressure at its maximum? Answer by Paul Wilson. What is the cardiac cycle? It is a detailed explanation of what happens during a single heartbeat, but occurs at least about 3,600 times an hour in a healthy person. As the cycle starts, the blood returning from the body and the lungs fills the right and left atrium respectively. This occurs during the end of diastole, or when the heart rests. This blood fills these atria, upper chambers of the heart. As these chambers fill the lower chambers of the heart that are already empty from the previous cycle. As these upper chambers contract, pushing blood into the lower chambers, the ventricles. These lower chambers do about 80% of the heart's work, leaving the upper chambers to do about 20% of the heart's work, as they fill the valves between these upper and lower chambers to allow blood to enter the ventricles. These lower chambers fill with about 100 milliliters of blood. As these chambers contract, they squeeze out about 5,565% of what is inside of them out to the body by the left ventricle into the lungs from the right ventricle. This makes for about 70 milliliters coming out of a healthy heart with each cycle. This is called the stroke volume. As your question asks, this is the period in the cycle when the blood pressure is at its maximum, causing the biggest spike on the ECG as the ventricle muscles depolarize, causing the ventricles to contract. The cycle continues with the muscles of the heart repolarizing to prepare electrically to contract again. Valves open to expel the blood into the lungs and out to the body, while other valves close to prevent the blood from regurgitating back into the atrium as the ventriculars contract. This usually finishes the cardiac cycle, and it all occurs between 1 second to 0.6 seconds. A remarkable pump indeed. The ventricle on the left is lined with 3 times more muscle than is the right ventricle. It is that way because the left ventricle is the main pumping chamber of the heart that pumps blood to the entire body. About 30 feet of arteries and about 60,000 miles of capillaries to feed every cell in the body with blood to pound. Are these 3 trillion cells and remove the waste produced by powering them. For every pound of fat we gain, we are adding about another mile of capillaries, and almost no arteries or veins. This makes weight add to the load the heart must overcome to pump blood through it all. So weight adds to the maximization of blood pressure. Answer by Laurel Harper. Aaron, please, you seem familiar with the term cardiac cycle, but do you know what that is? The main phases of the cardiac cycle are systole and diastole. Systole is when the ventricles contract and diastole is when the ventricles are relaxed. It's the left ventricle that pumps blood out of the heart and into the coronary arteries, the aorta and the rest of the body. Blood pressure is a measurement of the force exerted against arterial walls when the heart contracts. We're talking about systole. So, Therese, your answer. Answer by Julia Markov. My answer is, in the cardiac cycle, the blood pressure is at its maximum when ventricles are contracting during systole.